4.6 billion years ago, Earth didn't exist. There was no sun, no moon, no you. There was this, a cloud of gas and dust, floating in the darkness, big enough to swallow 1,000,000 suns. And then, it collapsed. This is the story of how a violent death gave birth.
The Milky Way is ancient, nearly 13.6 billion years old.
Our story starts 4.6 billion years ago, zooming into a quiet corner.
Stardust from dead stars floating inside the cloud.
But what made this cloud collapse? Because left alone.
Every atom in your body was forged in an ancient star that exploded. For millions of years, that cloud just drifted, peaceful, untouched. But nearby, a cosmic titan was dying. A massive neighboring star reached the end of its life and violently detonated in a supernova.
This wasn't just a flash of light. It was a physical wall of immense energy, screaming across the void at millions of miles per hour.
And it slammed directly into our peaceful nebula, giving the quiet cloud of dust a violent cosmic kick. The shockwave packed the gas and dust, so tightly together that the cloud's own gravity took over. As the matter clumped, the giant cloud began to do something new. It started to collapse under its own weight and spin. Physics dictates that as a collapsing object gets smaller, it has to spin faster. It's a law of the universe.
Think of a figure skater. When they pull their arms inward close to their body, they suddenly spin at dizzying speeds.
The cloud did the exact same thing. And as the spin became wildly fast, centrifugal force forced the sphere to change shape. It sounds complex, but you've seen it before. Think of pizza dough. Spin it in the air, and the physics flatten it out. The universe did the exact same thing, except it wasn't dough. It was 2 trillion tons of cosmic gas, preparing to build our world.
It flattened out entirely, transforming the giant cloud into a massive, spinning platter called a protoplanetary disk.
Inside this spinning disk, the ingredients for planets were incredibly small, just microscopic specks of stardust floating in a dark vacuum.
But these tiny grains started sticking together, using static electricity, the exact same force that makes a balloon stick to your hair.
Dust clusters quickly grew into tiny pebbles. Then, through endless chaotic collisions, those pebbles merged into jagged boulders. Over millions of years, these boulders swelled into massive, kilometer-wide mountain ranges floating in space, called planetesimals. Once an object gets that big, a new player enters the game: gravity. The largest rocks began pulling everything else toward them. This is the brutal process of accretion. The biggest space rocks won, completely sweeping up and clearing out everything in their orbital paths. But where a planet formed in this disk changed what it was made of. Temperature was destiny. Close to the young sun, it was a cosmic furnace. It was simply too hot for volatile ice or gases to survive. Because only rock and metal could stand the heat, the inner solar system became the birthplace of the rocky worlds. But far out, past the frost line, ice survived. These cold giants grew so massive they swallowed up entire oceans of hydrogen and helium. Which brings us back to our home. Earth started out small, just a chaotic lump of rock, roughly the size of modern-day Los Angeles. But it wouldn't stay small for long. It was about to go through a violent growth spurt, straight from hell. To understand why Earth became a rocky oasis, rather than a frozen gas giant, we have to look at its exact real estate in the solar disk. At this specific distance from the roaring young sun, temperatures soared to hundreds of degrees. It was a scorching cosmic desert. Because it was so fiercely hot, volatile elements like liquid water or ice simply couldn't exist. They were blasted away. Only materials with incredibly high melting points could survive here. Heavy metals, iron, and tough silicate rocks. But Earth wasn't alone in this lane. Our zone was a crowded cosmic battlefield, filled with dozens of Mars-sized worlds. It was a planetary game of survival. Dozens of infant worlds all competing for the same limited building blocks. Through this relentless consumption, Earth's seed grew at an astonishing pace, devouring its rivals. In just about 10 million years, a mere blink of an eye in cosmic time, the core structure of our planet was built. But this infant Earth looked absolutely nothing like the home we know today. There were no deep blue oceans.
There was no blue sky. The atmosphere was a choking, toxic fog. It was heavy greenhouse gases and sulfur. It was lit by a dim, angry sun.
It was hot, violent, and constantly bombarded by meteors. It seemed like the chaos had finally peaked. But 50 million years later, Earth faced the worst car crash in history. An entire planet slammed into us. Next time, on Before Earth. So before Earth was Earth, it was nothing more than forgotten dust from dead stars, drifting aimlessly in the pitch-black void. A cloud pulled into a violent spin by a neighboring shockwave, flattening into a massive, roaring cosmic disk.
A disk where chaotic fragments collided endlessly, clumping together piece by piece in an unforgiving game of cosmic survival.
But here is the ultimate truth. Absolutely nothing about this journey was guaranteed or destined to happen. If that nearby supernova hadn't exploded at that exact millisecond, forcing our nebula to collapse, the dust would still be floating out there today. Cold, dead, and you and I would never have existed. But the chaos wasn't over. In our next episode, the terrifying day Earth got its moon and almost got entirely destroyed instead.
Subscribe right now so you don't miss the single most violent, jaw-dropping moment in our planet's 4.6 billion-year history.